Hi, I'm Ryan Szymanski, curator for Battleship New Jersey Museum and Memorial, and today we're going to do a video about anti-aircraft changes over time. We'll be using my 1/300 scale Cobi New Jersey model. There's a link in the description below if you want to pick one of these up, although this video is not sponsored by Cobi. This is just the model we're using because it's a good size and shows the anti-aircraft gun positions. One of the things I like about this model is because of the Measure 22 camouflage, the blue hull and gray superstructure, the light gray guns kind of stand out pretty well, so you can point out the various gun positions on the ship. The Iowa-class battleships go through about 4 different anti-aircraft gun configurations during the war. We'll be looking at New Jersey's, although they're fairly similar throughout the class. Iowa, of course, is missing the Quad 40 on top of Turret 2, and in place of that has 3 additional 20mm guns. And Missouri and Wisconsin miss some of the earlier configurations because they're just built with some of the better configurations later on, since they enter the war about a year later. So, first off, check out this picture of a builder's model of an Iowa-class battleship. We're going to talk more about this picture in a future video because it shows some of the design features incorporated into this ship pre-war that end up being deleted from it when she's actually in commission. But one of the features is that it shows you what the original anti-aircraft suite is going to be, at least the medium anti-aircraft guns. And the most remarkable thing about that is there are only 4 medium anti-aircraft positions. The ones here on the forward 05 level, and the ones back here on what is today more or less the missile decks. So these 4 positions, which in this model are depicted as the American-made 1.1-inch quadruple anti-aircraft guns, the so-called Chicago Piano, which is what arms American ships at the beginning of World War II. These are the only positions for that. And having 4 positions of that is quite common. The King Anti-Aircraft Board established that American capital ships, which is like most cruisers 10,000 tons and up, aircraft carriers, battleships, should have 4 medium guns, preferably quadruple Chicago Pianos, but possibly single mount 3-inch 50s if those don't exist. It was taking a while to manufacture them. And 8 50 caliber machine guns. Now, some ships exceeded this, and you see ships with 12 or even 20 of these 50 caliber machine guns, which quickly get replaced by 20mm. The model, interestingly, doesn't depict the location or number of 50 caliber machine guns, but I would imagine it is somewhere between 8 and 12, and they're probably primarily spread around the main deck. If I had to guess, I would say it's 3 guns in this position here, and then another similar amount in this position here where there's a Quad 40. And that's fairly similar to what you see on ships like North Carolina and Washington, which actually commissioned with this early pre-war anti-aircraft outfit before deploying to theater and having their anti-aircraft outfits massively expand. Now, the interesting thing about the model is that it shows the same 5-inch guns in the same 5-inch positions. Those, of course, despite being dual purpose, are a key part of the anti-aircraft battery. And those do not change throughout the ship's career, really, when she's using those as anti-aircraft weapons. In the 1980s, these 4 mounts will be removed. However, for the time period that we're talking about, World War II and early Korea, when they are planning on using flak to shoot down aerial targets, that battery stays the same from the design phase on. So, in the design, we know about these positions right here. The number of 40mm guns is going to increase drastically while the ship is under construction. And you'll have mounts added on top of Turret 2 and Turret 3. You'll have mounts added here on the 01 level. You get this triple stack, which has 6 quadruple mounts added adjacent to the second funnel, which was originally supposed to be the boat park, as you can see from that picture. And you, of course, have the two mounts added here to the fantail. In addition to the 16 quad 40 mounts, the ship also has 56 single mount 20mm guns. These bow 20mm don't exist yet. These do. These 40mm don't exist, and in their place, there's a kind of circular-ish, maybe more teardrop-shaped tub with 5 20mm guns in it. You've got these mounts here. You've got the 2 on the 01 level on each side. You've got 2 up here on the 03 level and 1 up here on the 05 level. These mounts are interesting because you can see them on Iowa and New Jersey. On Missouri and Wisconsin, they get removed from this position and placed down here. On Iowa and New Jersey, we've got 2 guns in this position. That becomes 3 guns on Missouri and Wisconsin. That's one of the ways you can tell those ships apart. It must have been difficult to feed these lone 20mm guns up on the 05 level with ammunition. The 40mm guns up here have an ammunition hoist that brings it all the way up through the superstructure. These do not. So the ammunition loaded in the guns and what you have in ready service lockers is all you have. And the rest, maybe you can put those drums in the 40mm hoist, or maybe you're hauling them all the way up there. So it makes sense to move them down to where other positions are. Like the 05 level isn't a bad place for guns, but only having 1 gun of that caliber on each side really doesn't make any sense, and it makes more sense to move them down to the battery, to another existing battery. So you've got these positions with 2 guns here, positions with 5 guns, a single gun here, pair of guns here, 3 20mm guns here on each side where you see the 40mm mount, and then 9 guns back here, bringing us up to that total of 56. It's 9 guns up back here with 4 at the back, 3 on the starboard side, and only 2 on the port side because there's a hatch leading down to the mess decks in the position where there should be the other gun. Iowa-class battleships are never symmetrical. They never try to do anything on the port side to counteract the 1 extra barrel on the starboard side. So this is how New Jersey's completed in May of '43. It's how Iowa's completed a few months earlier. Of course, except minus this mount plus 3 extra 20mm. But before these ships actually deploy to the Pacific, shortly after they do their shakedowns, they decide to add additional 40mm guns. So those will be the 2 mounts back here aft on the main deck, and the 2 mounts up forward here on the main deck. These are the last mounts installed and the first ones removed later on in the ship's career. Some of these ships lose these mounts in the 50s because being on the main deck, especially the main deck up forward, these guns get hit with a lot of salt water. So they were a pain to maintain, and in some sea states, they weren't even able to be manned. So the only main deck guns that you see these ships originally deploy with are the ones back here on the fantail, which are pretty far away from wave action. When these guns are added, the 3 20mm guns in these positions are removed to be replaced with those quad 40s. Those are not replaced anywhere else. The ones up forward here, the 5 mounts, 3 of them are removed entirely. 2 of them are moved to the pulpit all the way at the extreme bow of the ship. Those guns presumably are also very wet, although they're the last 20mm guns to be removed, which is interesting. So, at this point, the Iowa class goes from having 56 mounts down to just 49, but they go from having 16 40mm mounts up to 20. So that is more of that heavier, longer range, more stopping power gunnery. And stopping power is the big issue here. You see the caliber of American anti-aircraft guns and the number of those guns go up over time as planes become more capable. And the more capable a plane becomes, the faster it can close the distance, and the larger it is, the fewer of these machine gun type weapons like 50 cals and 20mm you see added, because they just don't have the range to stop something moving that fast or the size of a projectile to put down one of those aircraft. So, already by the end of World War II, the Navy is starting to feel like its guns don't have enough stopping power. The 40mm battery is going to stay the same, but in 1945, when New Jersey goes back to Puget Sound for a yard period, they swap out 8 of her single 20mm guns with 8 twins. And that final World War II configuration, the one that she receives in June of 1945, is actually what this model depicts. So you can see the 2 forwardmost mounts are replaced with twin 20mm guns. They sit on the exact same base, so they just pull out the single barrel and drop in twins. The Navy would have probably done more of this if they had more twin mounts available. You can't just like pair single mounts up, because remember the drum curves off to one side of the gun mount. So they have to make guns that are going to have the drum on the opposite side and the ejection ports on opposite sides from normal. So there is a left hand and a right hand gun and a left hand and a right hand feed drum that they have to then start manufacturing. And so that's why they only get 8 of these guns. The other 2 to be changed besides the ones up forward is one gun here in this position and the one up here in the aft superstructure. This is interesting because they actually expand the gun shield around this gun. It had been like a regular square shield, and when they add the twin 20mm, for whatever reason, they make like a curved shield there. It's often hard in pictures to tell if it's a twin mount or a single mount, especially if you've got a canvas cover over them. However, that shape of the gun shield helps us identify the time period of the ship because it is added with the twin guns. When the ship goes into mothballs in 1948, the 20mm guns are covered in igloos. These domes are usually either aluminum or fiberglass. I imagine they were aluminum at this time. And those cover the 20mm guns more or less in situ. And when she comes back for Korea, she's going to have the same 5-inch guns, the same 40mm guns. The 20mm are small and portable enough that they are removed from the ship, but their mounts are left in place and their gun shields are left in place. So in 1950, when she's reactivated, the Navy decides to only reactivate these ships instead of having the 49 positions that they ended World War II with only 16 positions. But all 16 of these positions would be twin mount 20mm guns. It's unclear to me whether the same 16 positions were used on all of the Iowa-class battleships, and it may even be that by the time some of the later reactivated Iowas, like I believe Wisconsin's the last one brought back in the 50s, by the time she comes back, if she even has 20mm guns at all, because really by the end of 1951 or the beginning of 1952, all of the 20mm guns have been removed. Some sources, like Paul Stilwell, seem to indicate that they are removed piecemeal over time, with the last ones being the ones at the extreme bow up here, which were good for potentially detonating mines. Your paravane, your minesweeping gear, cuts anchored mines from the seabed so they float to the surface, and then your Marines can use the 20mm guns to blow up those mines. Or potentially all of the 20mm are removed at one time. We're still looking for information on that process. But the 16 positions as they exist on New Jersey, and keep in mind it might have been different on the other Iowas, are the 2 at the extreme bow and the 2 just aft of that. These 2 positions right here on the 01 level, which is replaced with saluting guns later on. These 2 positions amidships at the waist, this position up here in the superstructure, and this one of the 2 positions back here adjacent to turret number 3. It seems like they are spreading these positions out to get the best coverage around the ship in case mines, swimmers, small boats pop up around them, because these positions aren't all that great. They have to be abandoned when the 16-inch gun is going to be fired. However, The more aft positions, which would in theory also have that aft coverage, are all removed because this becomes the boat park. You notice that on this wartime model, there's only a small 26-foot boat on each side, which is like your ready rescue type boat. Things like your Liberty launches, your captain's gig are not carried during World War II because they're flammable, and because really they got rid of all the places where they would put them, either here around the funnels or at the fantail back here, or even up against the superstructure here, and they replaced them with all of these additional gun positions. During the Korean War, these ships were not significantly threatened, and they were spending a lot of time in port on Liberty, going around to Allied ports and things like that, and so it was important that they carried their small boat complement on board. So you see boat parks on the fantail of like a dozen craft, which precludes these guns from being there. It is interesting, though, that because these positions can't necessarily be manned when the guns are being fired, the main battery guns are being fired, they don't just retain both of these gun mounts and keep all the ammunition close together and things like that. They delete these positions entirely and go into the superstructure here, which has really good coverage from up above and can coverage that aft quarter even if these guns have to be abandoned while the main battery is firing. Like we said earlier, by early 1952, all of these guns have been completely removed. The diagrams that we were using in this video, along with our Cobi model, comes from John Miano's book on Iowa-class battleships. We'll leave links for that in the description as well. And he's got a bit about where these guns were positioned, and it was largely his research that told us which positions were installed and abandoned during which time periods. Some of the Iowa-class battleships start to lose 40mm guns in the later 50s. New Jersey probably retains all or most of hers until she goes into mothballs in 1957. At that time, a couple might be removed instead of covered in igloos, but it doesn't really matter because by 1968, when she is reactivated, all of the mounts have been removed at this point, so she no longer has 20mm or 40mm guns. And then, of course, in 1982, when she is reactivated, she's lost these 5-inch positions, which have to be removed for a missile deck to be placed there. She has gained additional anti-aircraft guns in the form of the 20mm Phalanx system, 2 of which go up here on the 05 level in this position that existed from the builder's model on all the way through the ship's career. 2 more get installed roughly above where this mount is on a structure that's built on top of these former gun tubs. And that is the anti-aircraft battery evolution of the Iowa-class battleships over time as it actually existed. In this video, we didn't talk about notional things that had plans and were intended, like replacing the 40mm guns with twin 3-inch automatic guns, or replacing more single 20mm with twin or even quadruple 20mm mounts, which some American battleships, including Massachusetts, did get. By the end of World War II, the Iowa class had probably the best anti-aircraft battery of, definitely of any battleships ever built. Only one ship had more 40mm guns than these. It's the aircraft carrier Saratoga. And they were up there in the top 10 list of the most 20mm guns. So these ships probably had the very best anti-aircraft capabilities of any ship in the world in 1945. But can you see anywhere else where you would add additional anti-aircraft guns? Let us know in the comment section down below. Battleship New Jersey receives operating support from the New Jersey Department of State, as well as a number of other businesses and private individuals like yourselves. We really appreciate your support. There's a link in the description below for more ways you can donate to support the museum. You can also support us by liking, sharing, and subscribing so more people find about the museum and our channel. Thanks for watching.